Awesome. Okay, we are live.
Yay.
Yay, success on every level. Already a successful morning. Let me go ahead and put record on here. And we are good. We're live on Facebook and we are recording. We are ready to go. Well, good morning. Hello, everybody, and happy June to everybody. I'm so excited. Welcome to this episode of Playing to Win. And if you're on the podcast listening later on, it's the second half. I'm so excited to welcome back. I've had her a year ago, just about a year ago, actually, when I first rolled this out. But I'm so excited to welcome to the show, Carmen Reese. Thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Melanie.
Oh, I'm so excited. And if you're just listening on the podcast, you can't see her, but she has the most beautiful background wall. I love that purple wall. Does that mean anything to you, or do you just like the color or anything? It just looks great.
Yeah, it's on brand. So it's our brand color. So purple is, one of our main colors. It's my favorite color. So a lot of purple over here all the time.
I love it. Purple's the color for prosperity. I'm sure you knew that. I'm sure you knew that because it's my favorite color too. I love that. Well, Carmen, I want to have you on the show today and go a few different directions with you. When you were on before, we talked a lot about the market and things like that, which we can touch a little bit, but I want to talk about who Carmen Reese is today. I want to go a little deeper on that. I tend to have guests on and I kind of go over their story and kind of what they do to play to win today. And you're just somebody that stands out to me since I met you as somebody that's very creative and has a great work ethic and a mindset of no matter what's happening around you, where the market's going up, going down, you always have this playing to win mentality. And I love that about you. So let's just introduce yourself to the audience today.
All right. So I am Carmen, of course. So I was actually born in Round Rock. So a Round Rock dragon, went to Round Rock High School. Been in real estate for just 4 years, actually. I thought it was 5. It feels like I've been in for so much longer.
Amazing. That's amazing.
I actually got licensed in June of 2018. So
congratulations.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got licensed then, started in October, selling real estate with Keller Williams. So been with Keller Williams since the very jump, and it's been a really good, launch to the career, of course. So now we do have a team. So my husband joined me after my first year of real estate, and we actually started building a team, bringing on agents just over a year ago. So Justin's been with us, our OG agent is what I call him. He's been with us since actually June of last year. So right over a year.
So June's a good month for you too. It happens to be my favorite month, and you always look for patterns, but June tends to be, so we have purple and June in common already. I love it. Well, Carmen, you're somebody I really respect. What did you do before real estate? Let's back it up a little bit before, and we'll talk more about your business today, but what did you do before real estate?
Yeah, absolutely. So before real estate, I went to A&M, so Texas A&M, class of 2012. And I studied supply chain management there. And so after I got my degree there, so with the business school, I went to Houston. So I did a little bit of supply chain in Houston with oil and gas. Didn't like the city as much as I liked being back home in Austin because I'm an outside person. I like to go to the parks, the trails, the lake, like that's my piece. And so Houston's a great city. I know exactly where I want to go when I'm there, but it's not home for me. So came back to Austin, actually worked with a company that was in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So big company, was a supply chain analyst there. And then just realized that I really wanted to do my own thing because, I was looked down on for being young and having different ideas. And there were a lot of folks who just been there forever. And I just wanted to break away from that. I didn't feel like, I was serving my purpose there. Yeah. And so went all in, backed myself in a corner. I don't recommend this, but it worked out for me. I cashed it out on my 401k, went all into real estate and was like, I need to be productive by, the time that this
money runs out.
by the time this runs out. So, not necessarily runs out, but I just need to be productive and I need to be, head in the books, head in the game and make stuff happen. So I was able to make a lot happen within my first year, which is where I sold about 15 homes my first year. And that's like, the first 3 to 4 months, not selling anything, getting something under contract, essentially my 4th month. And then it just started to snowball from there. But doing as many open houses as I could, getting in front of as many people as I could. I wanted to do the scariest things first. So I went directly after, expired listings and just trying to do the things that scared me. And I figured if I can do those first, then I can do anything.
Yeah, I love that. So just to back up, I love that you took an investment of money that you put away and you invested in yourself for your next business. So I think that's a smart usage of your 401k, right? It's like you took that to start your next business. So well done. There's so many people that would like to make some kind of change in their life, and that takes a lot of courage. And so I applaud you for that. You're somebody that really, like you said, you just jumped right in though, and you have played to win since the day you got your license. And so you went right for the hard stuff. Why did you go right for the hard stuff, you think?
I'm just very competitive in nature. And so I, truly believe that if anyone can do it, I can do it. So put myself in front of, the mentors that, I felt like I needed to have in my life and just kept it positive, never taking any negativity. If I start, taking in negativity, then, there's room for me to, not be able to leap and launch. And so when the market shifts, I'm always excited. I'm like, okay, great. Like this is a way for me to actually use my skill set a little bit more. So I love when the market shifts, which is kind of weird. Even though it's a little bit more stressful, I think that the clients truly actually see the value too when you give them that information that they're looking for so desperately, because everybody wants to know what's going to happen. We don't know exactly what's going to happen, but we can definitely give them a lot of data, as to what to expect and, what the risks are, right, in any situation.
Well, and I love that you do that. I know you're really good about statistics and market data and educating the consumer. And that's so key to it because they really need that, right? That's what they're looking to us for. And, Gary Keller always says that we as real estate agents should be the local economists of choice. And I think that you are just such a great role model of doing that. I guess it comes maybe from your analyst background, or what made you get so focused on really understanding how to interpret the market for the consumer?
Yeah, I feel like I never wanted to just be the person who's like, I'm a realtor, call me. I wanted to make sure that I proved my value and that I earned everything that I got. And from there, I was able to obtain a following, but, it was just by doing the boring things all the time, every day. For me too, when I first started in my career, I got some really good advice of, spending 80% in the business and 20% on the business. So 20% working on yourself, on your skill set, and then 80% actually getting in there and doing the dirty work. So I've always just started with that correct mindset, or what I could consider a correct mindset from the start. And so that helped me. And, initially I couldn't do the 20%, but I kept making that a priority.
I love that. So now fast forward, you've been in 4 years. Congratulations. So 4 years today with the market, it is shifting and correcting and nobody knows exactly where it's going. You seem to have this attitude of, like you said, you get excited about it. Tell us more about that.
Well, I get excited about it because I think that, oftentimes people look at our job as something that, especially in the past 2 years, they look at it as easy, even though we've all been working our tails off. Sellers have been like, well, all you got to do is list my home. And they've just started to kind of devalue us in a way, in my opinion, because it doesn't take a whole lot of skill. It does take a lot of skill to get top dollar. It does take a lot of skill to do all of the marketing, but ultimately we were looking at a home going on the market Thursday, Friday. By Monday, it had multiple offers and it was just a quick, easy transaction. Pretty much, if you had it in the realm of where it should be priced, you'd be getting some crazy offers, all appraisal waivers, all terms in favor of the seller. And with sellers being something that, we focused on since the last shift, back in 2020, 2021, getting more sellers since we didn't have that inventory. It's been very interesting. So those are the types of things that we're seeing, and we're having to give them that data to show them what's actually happening and having that conversation. And, with that shift, buyers are becoming pickier in this market. And so some of the things that they would have accepted, if they were looking at a 6 or 7 out of 10 home, back in 2021, 2022, now they're looking at a 9 to 11 out of 10. They want to make sure that they're making the right choice. So it's quickly just transitioned in terms of what their mindset is. And of course, we've got the headlines, and you just have to really understand how to overcome those objections. So the big ones being, interest rates and inventory. How do you overcome that? And how do you educate the clients within that? And if you can do that, then you become their agent of trust. And that's where we're able to bring in so many referrals, because we're 85% referrals on our team.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. And I know when you started out, you were heavy buyer side, right? You were heavy buyer side, weren't you? When you started out and you were doing the open houses as a newer agent, you were heavy buyer side. You were using the Keller Mortgage, and you had kind of rebranded it as your, special, I forget what you called it, like the special VIP buyer program. Really smart business decisions. So to me, you're somebody that takes opportunity and knows how to work it into their world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So knowing our unique selling proposition, our unique proposition over, using someone else, is one of the things that was able to make me so productive and so effective in converting people, when it came to open houses or, just those low hanging fruit. So the expired listings as well. So I was going after low hanging fruit and also going after some long term. So database being that long term. And of course, me being 31, all of my folks are buying their first home, in terms of the buyer side, especially when I started out in the business.
That's awesome. And then so what made you shift to listings? Because now you do a lot of listings as well.
Yeah, I mean, whoever has the listings has the control. I mean, we all know that. And so, I mean, with me, because of that, we're able to A, coach the sellers, and B, make sure that everything that comes in is communicated, as well as possible. And then we can also have a little bit more flexibility in our schedule in terms of, instead of what we were seeing, which was driving around all day, and then maybe not even having a chance at some of the homes, in that low inventory market that we were in previously.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So what are I love the creative ways you guys reach consumers too. Like you guys are like social media gurus. I think you guys are really knocking it out of the park. And I mean, you have a whole team around that. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. So in terms of our team build out, so it's myself, my husband, Len. He's actually not in production. He's a full-time coach for our agents. And all of our agents are, started out as newer agents. So that just happened to be what it was. And it's been great. So we have Justin, Rachel, and we just hired another new agent as well. But we're, in that always be hiring mindset, always be looking for the next thing. And so those are our direct agents. We also do have a full-time videographer, photographer on staff who's actually in Costa Rica right now. And I started doing content with him before he, was full-time with us. So I started doing content with him. And then as we started to develop our budget and our plans for the next year, we looked at bringing him on full-time. So we were able to do that. We also have a transaction coordinator, assistant, which is amazing and cool. And then we have 3 inside salespeople as well. So just reinvesting in our business has been like the theme and method of it all. So, we're not, going out and buying a new Lexus or buying a new Mercedes or whatever when we don't have, the funds that we need to reinvest in our business to grow it to what we want in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years. So it's always something that we're looking at, what's next.
Yeah. Yeah, but not everybody has like a videographer, and I think you guys do a great job of that because you're using video to educate and do this kind of what market update, what's going on in the market, what's happening, addressing the fears that consumers have. That
Right.
I wanted to show one of yours. So I'm going to screen share real quick for those who are just listening. You can just hear her, but I'm on Facebook and I'm just going to pull up one of Carmen. Is this the one? That is your latest one, right? The one that I just shared?
Yeah. And if I could say something, if anyone
Yes.
who's listening wants to follow us on YouTube, it'll really help. I'm trying to get to 100 followers and I haven't yet on YouTube, which is hard. So on YouTube, just look at the Clear Sales Group on YouTube and you'll find me and follow me and you'll get all of our new videos on there as well.
Oh, I love that. And it's CLR, just so you know, for Clear. Yep. CLR. And okay, so I'm going to play this, but this is a really short video just talking about you having a conversation. Let's see how it goes.
On buying a home in the midst of rising inflation? Let's discuss it today on Keep It Clear. Recent headlines about rising inflation are making you wonder if it's still a good time to buy a home. Here's what the experts have to say. Ali Wolf from Zonda quotes, "If you have cash and are expecting inflation, you want to think through where you can put that cash so it does not lose value." Housing is commonly looked at as a good inflation hedge. And the reason for that is that housing is an asset that typically grows in value, especially during inflationary periods. Another point to consider is that even during inflation, your mortgage costs are stabilized. James Royal from Bankrate quotes, "A fixed mortgage rate allows you to maintain the biggest portion of your housing expenses at the same payment. Sure, property taxes will rise and other expenses may creep up, but your monthly housing payment remains the same." That is certainly not the case if you are renting. And speaking of renting, buying a home protects you from rising rents. Natalie Campisi from Forbes states, "Homeowners are shielding themselves from mounting rental prices because their cost is fixed regardless of what is happening in the market. Tangible assets like real estate get more valuable over time, which makes buying a good home a good way to spend your money during inflationary times."
That's a great video.
Yeah. And, back to your point as well, like we didn't start off with a videographer. I started doing just different segments, seeing what I liked, seeing what took off. A couple years ago, I started doing a 90 seconds with Carmen segment. And so essentially every week I'd give a new 90 seconds. I'd give a new 90 seconds. So actually right now I'm, that was kind of like the birth of, the Close with Clear, or sorry, Keep It Clear. And so the reason that I, want to keep it at 90 seconds is so that people can get this bite-sized chunk. And then of course, usually on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, you'll have another video that comes up after that. So a lot of the feedback that I was getting is that people were watching like a video and they were like, that was enough, but I kind of want more. And so they would go back through previous videos. And so Instagram and Facebook is where, I mostly, just kind of build my tribe, and we're trying to expand that to YouTube right now, which is, tougher, but certainly a challenge that we're up to for sure, because it is a search engine like Google, and
right.
search engines, if you can, gain your presence there, then you have a lot of power.
And you said it's called it's the Keep It Clear, or what's the YouTube channel called?
The YouTube channel is just the Clear Sales Group. If you look at
Clear Sales, okay.
The CLR, THECLR group.
Perfect.
And just follow us and it'll be amazing. And you'll get all of our updates and I'll love you forever.
I love it. I love it. I think I am already, but I'll go make sure that I do that, but also put it in the chat for anybody. And I'm glad that you just spelled it out for people so they can find it. Awesome. So how much business do you think you get from that kind of efforts that you're doing? Do you get feedback from your clients? Like what kind of feedback are you getting from all of the creative pieces you're bringing out?
Yeah. So, I mean, ultimately people, they just feel like they already know me and they're getting all their information from me. So it's not a one of those things where it's like, okay, you shoot a video, you get a deal. It's like you're in the mind share business. So, even though we do have a videographer, it's free. It's free to market yourself, via video. And it's free to, turn on your laptop and shoot a video. And so that's what I did for, the first 3 years. And then the fourth year, I was able to build it into my schedule, build it into, my lead pillars to do so. So it's not just one video. It's not just, one shot. And, we also have a series that is for people who are moving to Austin. So neighborhood insights. So showing them around different neighborhoods via video so that when they're coming from out of state, which a lot of our clients are, we are still building out, but the main neighborhoods we've built out in terms of, real estate insight so that, they know what coffee shops are around, they know where the hospital is, they know what schools, they're looking at in certain areas, certain neighborhoods, and kind of the vibe and everything about it. And so I think that we're just becoming that brand of trust. So to me, building a brand is most important.
And I love your videos that you do because those neighborhood insights are great videos too. If you go check her out, go check out those neighborhood insights that she does. So what are you most excited about with this shifting market?
What am I most excited about? What I'm always excited about, which is informing the consumer, and they listen up a little bit more. Like when 2020 hit, I was making videos that were like an hour and a half long, and people would listen to them because they were like, what the heck is happening? We were in shelter in place. I was like, screw it, I'm making videos. Everybody else is twiddling their thumbs, freaking out. I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to dive into what's going on, what's the data, what the experts are saying. And I made these super long videos just to see if people would watch them, and they were glued. Watch the entire thing because they were like, oh my gosh, like this is different than, what I'm hearing and what's being speculated, and it's backed.
And I love that. And I've noticed that about you ever since I've known you, is that you do things differently, and you're very articulate with the way you deliver things. They're really, really good content, but staying ahead of it. Like you said, other people are like sitting there like, what happened? You're bringing kind of the message and the news out to consumers, and they're watching it because they're hungry for it. And that's what I mean now, like with interest rates changing and all that, you did a video that included for rental, for renters. Look at the rental rates in Austin. I mean, anybody could be listening around the country. They're experiencing similar experiences, whereas there's no guarantee. I mean, rentals are popping up $500,000 more because of property taxes and other things. And so yes, the property taxes are going to impact you as a homeowner, but that rate, I love the video. The messaging is so important. The messaging is so important because when people are in fear, they don't take action. And I think that's what's so cool about the message you're delivering always, is helping people make it the best decision if they have cash and they want to do something, but they're hearing all this stuff, being the resource for them to know how to move forward.
Absolutely. And just letting them know too, like, hey, we were going 180 miles an hour in a 90-mile zone. Now we're going about 90 to 100. I mean, it's still a hot, great market to be in. But it's different, and we're in a market. Ultimately, you don't get to say what's going to happen next. You just have to understand it, process it, and react to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I can't not ask this question because I ask every guest always, what does playing to win look like to you, my dear?
Playing to win to me, I think that it looks like just being the educator 100%, being confident, being able to handle these like razor sharp objections, because everyone is paying attention to real estate, right? They weren't necessarily paying attention as much, when you look at 2, 3, 4 years ago, but now it's got their attention, yeah. And people are giving you these solid objections. They know every home that's sold in their neighborhood, and you have to be the person who can guide them in that right direction. So I think that playing to win, it looks like, keeping your sword sharp, so to speak, and making sure that you're ready to get out there to help any client understand what their best and next move should be, even if it's not, what you need to be, what you want it to be. And so for me, building that pipeline and being able to say, hey, you're motivated enough for us to take you on as a client. Let's go do this. That's what I think playing to win is. So making sure that you just have enough to where you're able to lose a couple clients here, lose a couple clients there. Buyers are going to fall out, and 20% of buyers have lost their buying power with the interest rates. So to me, it's just being able to have calm within all of that, within everything that changes, because you do every single thing, every single day, you do what you're supposed to do, right? If you have appointments, you do what you're supposed to do. If you have closings, you do what you're supposed to do. And then of course, having that time in your schedule for yourself. So I hope that answered it.
I want to hear from that. Well, I hear a lot of things, but I hear habits, that habits are really important.
Right. Yep. That's the word.
And you have great habits, right? Do you have a lesson that you've learned along the way that you would want to share with our listeners on, because we all fail our way to success, right? And everybody, we don't get to the finish line right away. And if we do, it's like, what just happened? And try reinventing that again, right? But so do you have a lesson that you learned or advice for anybody listening who maybe is not seeing the success they want to see right now? Like what they could do differently? I mean, you talked about habits, but where you want to take that one? What kind of advice would you have for somebody maybe that's not kind of knowing what to do right now, or not seeing the success that they'd like to see? What kind of advice would you give to that person?
My advice would be to track everything, right? So once you track things, you have the power over it. So you need to know how many conversations you need to have a deal, right? Because we can always feel as salespeople that we did so much, but if we only had 5 conversations, we're not going to get that deal. And how many deals you want to make, just building out that business plan and then seeing where your business is coming from and running the plays that work for you.
I love that. And people are sometimes afraid of those tracking numbers, right? When at the end of the day, it's just telling you a story, right? Because if you have to have these many conversations to get an appointment, these many appointments to get an actual lead, and leads to that, it just, to me, it takes the fear away. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. It gives you control. And so that's what we all should want, is just control over our lives, control over our business, control over our schedule, because, the appointment for yourself, to take care of yourself is just as important, as the appointment with a multi-million-dollar seller. And you wouldn't step away from your appointment with a multi-million-dollar seller to talk to someone else. So when you take that time for yourself, really take it, because burnout's real. And burnout is huge. And a lot of people face it when they don't look at their lives from a macro level and they're just chasing the carrot.
Talk more about that. I think that's a big topic right now, Carmen. I do. I think a lot of agents are tired, and just consumers are tired, buyers are tired that didn't get a proper, there's just a lot of that. So let's talk a little bit more about burnout and how do you not burn out? You're 4 years in, you've been running like a sprint marathon. How have you not burned out?
I'm not perfect at it, but just planning the year is a huge thing. And that's what we coach to the folks on our team, is like, when are you going to take your vacations? You have 2 months out of the year that should be vacation time. You should take a 3-day weekend every single month, and if you don't get to take it, then, take it, figure out when you can take it. If it's just so crazy and you can't take that 3-day weekend, in June, then plan it for July and make it happen. And then we also are very, very, very passionate about our agents having 1 day a week completely off, that they're not in real estate, and setting those expectations that they're not going to be available. So you set those expectations, people respect them. And even if they don't, then they at least know ahead of time that you're not going to be, operating, and taking that time and using it well. Like for me, I like to go to the lake. I like to go kayaking. I like to, play with my dogs. Just taking that time, spending it well. Of course, spending time with my husband, Len. But taking that time, spending it well, but it all breaks down to, how are you macroscopically looking at your schedule?
Yeah.
Not as on a week-to-week basis, but what are you doing for the year? When are you going to take those vacations, so that you don't wait till you burn out to take a vacation, but you plan a vacation, methodically, so you don't burn out. Yeah. And you just take that time away. So you just have to do it. It's important.
I love
you come
that.
back, and it's actually like you've been working, because you're working to make yourself ready for that next client, even though you're, sipping a Mai Tai on the beach.
I love that. And you come back. Yeah. I had a coach tell me once, it's not about performance all the time. It's about peak performance.
Right.
You can't have peak performance if you don't have your time to renew yourself. And I think there's a lot of that out there. So I hope everybody's hearing that. Like, have you planned your vacation time? And oh, I can't get away in this and that. Well, that's a problem that you have to find the solution, because if you don't, you're going to burn out, and then you're not serving anybody, especially yourself, right?
Absolutely. I mean, like we have 4 agents, and Len and I are about to go to Chicago for a week, so being able to do that. And, one of the things that a mentor has told me is like testing the boat to see how much water it holds. So if you want to go out of town, if you have other obligations, because Len has an 18-year-old and he's graduating from high school, so we'll be there. He was in for prom. But testing the boat to see how much water it holds. When you are away, what parts of your system, what parts of your boat take in water, right? And then trying to lessen that. So you're running a test to see how solid your systems, your processes are, which, over time, you just get less and less water coming into your metaphorical boat.
I love that. I love that. And you think about too, a lot of us are very entrepreneurial, and we're attracted to real estate because we want to be our own boss and have our own, all these things. But what they don't realize is without the systems and the structure, right, you don't really have the freedom.
Right. So I will say, my first year I was like nose to the grindstone. Also, now that we're building our team, I'm also nose to the grindstone, right? But it's motivational to get to where we want to be. So knowing your why, knowing your vision, that can help you stay fueled, and that changes, and it's cheesy. And I wasn't one who bought into all of that initially, I'll say, but it's like when you have that, in your rear view, in terms of your foundation, it starts to make sense more over time.
Yeah. Well, if you're not powered by something like a bigger picture of why you're doing it, right, it's easy to get lost too, right? And it's easy
Absolutely.
to away. And, we were in a mastermind with Gary last week, and part of the session was just that, is like, what is your mission? What's your vision? What's your value? What's your belief? What's your perspective?
Right.
For you, right? Because it's different for everybody. And when you know what that is, and you can write down, what are the things that are most important to me? What are the things that I'm doing I shouldn't be doing? Who could do them for me, right? And what's my superpower? What am I really good at? And we get real clear on what you just said. You really look at your life and be like, okay, how do I recreate this in a way that I can be? And to me, you just appear like somebody that has real clarity on that, and you live in your strength zone.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that's the thing that I think a lot of agents struggle with too, is like letting go of control, like hiring an assistant, right? Making sure that the things that you're not the best at, because you're not the best at everything, that you're delegating so that you can do what you're best at, because you can't do it all. And so, there's some powerful agents out there, not just in Austin, but agents all over the country that I know, who I'm like, you need to get yourself a dang assistant, because you're about to, tap out on, how much you can handle, and your potential hasn't even been realized yet.
Yeah, they don't realize they're their own ceiling, right? Everybody's their own ceiling and their own lid to their achievement. And so, okay, so I'm hearing leverage, and you got pretty quickly into leverage because you were a solo agent, and then you started building a team pretty quickly. And then you got to learn, the joys. Even Len came, your husband came on board, which is awesome. So you get to work with him too, just in different parts of that. And you've brought on talented people to your team. And so what's your goal for the next couple of years? Where's your heart calling you as you grow this empire of yours, my dear?
Yeah, that's a great question. So our initial goal was to add on 2 agents a quarter. And that has been an awesome, learning challenge and everything that comes along with building a team, being in leadership. So just supporting as many other people as we possibly can in terms of their growth, and being able to share and help make them see and realize their potential, so that they're able to be, as profitable as possible, and also able to take the lessons that I've learned. So for me, just being more into, the marketing, throwing events, bringing in clientele, but not necessarily working, those deals, because I think that I'm best utilized, being loud and, just bringing in and building that brand, because I think that, the agent that we'll see in the future has a brand, because we have so many big brands coming up against us as of late with all the online agencies and all of the Zillows, realtor.coms. I don't know if I can say them on here.
Yeah, you can.
It's the truth.
It is the truth. It's not disparaging. It is what it is. We're calling it what it is, right? It is there's some disruptors out there. And so I love that you say, building your brand, and that's what you are as a real estate business owner, right? You are a brand. You are definitely, and you're doing a great job. Even your wall is your brand color, which is great, right? Like everything you do is tied to that. So what is something about you that we don't know that we should know?
Something about me that you don't know that you should know.
Yes,
that you're
sharing with the world.
I don't know. Something about me. I'm just a positive person. I'm very, I want to make sure that I'm not taking anything in that I don't need. And I want to make sure too, that I'm always reevaluating, who I am and what it is that, I want that I don't have. So that's pretty much what drives me. I have 3 dogs.
Dog lover. I know that. Well, I love that you said that, because I do see you as somebody that's very, calm's not the word, because you have great energy, but you're this consistent, determined, but in a very positive way. Like you're an attractor of goodness, in my opinion. I like to watch you. I like to watch what you put out there, the creative content. Like you bring people to you, because I feel like you have this, just energy about yourself. And that's why you said your gift zone is being in the front and leading the others, because then you turn around and you're creating opportunities for the people on your team, right? And for the people that you work with, you're always creating opportunity. So I see you like as that person out there creating opportunity. So I guess I asked that only like, let me ask it a different way. Is there something you would like to share with the listeners today that we didn't discuss yet today? Any advice or anything about mindset, or anything about what you've learned along the way that you would want to share with the listeners that we haven't touched on?
Yeah, I mean, I guess just with the current market, with it being in a shift, just like making sure that you don't like bring on that guilt and you don't feel like you have to be quiet. You can say what you know, you can say what you think, and people are looking for your voice of reason. So I, watched a podcast recently that, stated that, we're not here to give perfect advice. We can't give perfect advice. A doctor, a lawyer cannot give perfect advice. All we can do is give our expertise. When you go to the doctor, they don't say this is 100%, what's going on with you all the time. They say this is what we see. And for us, we need to be comfortable with telling people what it is that we see, and also knowing what their concerns are, knowing what their objections are will gain your trust. And once you gain the trust, the walls come down. So I think that may be what is most daunting for, folks who, as you said, haven't, overcome that hump. It's chipping away. It's a chipping away. It's not oh yeah, now I'm over it, and that's why I like the pivot and the shift. I mean, I played basketball when I was growing up. Maybe that's something that people.
There we go. There we got it. We got it. That's an athlete. I knew there was an athlete in there.
And I was tiny and fast, but I wasn't like the best shooter, but I could get down the court quick enough, and I could, juke people out and literally pivot. And so it's fun to do that, because you go this way, the other person's still here, and that's how you beat them, is that you outskill them. And so
you outskill them in what you're good at. Like you're not outskilling them to like shoot the baskets. You're outskilling them by your speed and your agility and able to navigate them on the court side, like whatever. And I'm a big basketball fan. So
we're bigger than you. So I had to find my strengths in that. And, I'm not about to, beat them in a slam dunk contest or anything like that, but at least knowing that, hey, my strengths lie in like my endurance. And so that's why for me, it is exciting, because I do have that endurance type mindset. So maybe that's something that, can think about adapting, instead of saying, oh my gosh, I'm tired. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm energized.
Yeah. Change the way you look at things, right? I love that. My strengths are in my endurance.
Yeah.
My strength is in my endurance. I love that so much, because I think what we all need right now is grace, and endurance though, right? Is endurance. And just to turn that around of if I'm tired, it's I'm energized, and then carving the time out so that you can renew your energy, right? And so if you're feeling burnout, it's like you're resenting something almost, right? And so find the time to do what you love. And I just admire you and adore you so much. And I just think you're such a great role model of somebody living a life very determined, very purposeful. You have your fun time, you have your work time, and you're crushing it, and you're having fun along the way, and you're helping a lot of people. And I just want to applaud you for that. And that's exactly why I asked you to be on the show today, because I think, the more people we listen to that think like Carmen Reese in the world, it's all programming. What are you putting into your mind? And that's why this whole podcast is about playing to win. And the second half is about, I take this and I edit it for the podcast called The Second Half, because you win or lose the game in the second half, Carmen, right? You don't, right. You can't just like do great in the first half and then go, woo, I'm done in the second half, because then the competitor comes back and beats you.
Right. Exactly.
The game is won in the second half. And so I love that you said, my strength is my endurance, because that's the name of the game. And if people are getting into real estate or whatever it is that you do, if you're listening to this, right, whatever it is, whether you're in sales, you're a teacher, whatever career path, life path you're on, it's the long game, right? It's the long game. But if you have the habits to do the things you need to do now, that's where you're going to see the results like what Carmen is seeing. And I love that you just have that mindset around, woohoo, let me roll up my sleeves. It's getting a little trickier. Great, because now I get to shine. Now I get to use my basketball skills, and I get to pivot, and I get to be the fastest one to educate people. I'm the fastest one to have a video when COVID hits. Now I'm educating people on why they should feel confident about any real estate decision they make. Okay, I'm going to open this up. Do we have any questions on the chat? We have some viewers on the live chat, and then our studio audience here. If you have a question, this would be your opportunity to either type it in the chat or unmute and ask just super quick. I'll just give them a second. Silas, no question today, huh? Quiet. Usually has a good question. Okay, going once, going twice. Okay, we're going to keep moving. Okay, so as we wrap this up, Carmen, what are some last parting thoughts you'd like to leave with anyone that's watching this or listening to the podcast on just the whole playing to win mindset, the second half, and just how you have in 4 years built an amazing empire, and you're just getting started, honestly. Any parting thoughts on what you want to share today?
I just say, continue to put good things into your brain. So I was a cross country runner, so that's part of the endurance piece of it. But the interesting thing was that, within cross country, once you hit, call it mile 2, you didn't feel tired anymore. It was just like a continuous, okay, now I've gained a second wave. So just knowing that you may hurt, in the first couple of miles for sure, but you're gaining that momentum, that second wind, when you just keep going, and one of the books that I love is David Goggins' Can't Hurt Me. And, there he states in his book, about when you're racing someone, when you're in a race, a long race, a short race, if you can just go a second longer than that other person, then they break and you can literally slow down after that. Not slow down, but what I'm saying is that you just need to go a little bit more, try a little bit more. And that way you're able to start coasting, but you have to break that barrier. So I just say, keep doing the little things that seem to not be producing the results right now, and be able to have some data around that. Do it for not just a month, not just for 2 months, do it for 6 months, whatever it is that you're doing. And, certainly you'll grow in it. Video was kind of scary for me, kind of not, because I was just I'm going to do this. It's a free way to market myself, and everyone's on Facebook, Instagram. And so it's something that I was able to build upon and able to grow, but that took time.
So if you like what you're hearing and you want to hear more, you're going to go to YouTube and you're going to go to The CLR Sales Group, and you're going to follow her for all of her great stuff that she's rolling out there, and be inspired, wherever you are listening to this, learn from those that are succeeding at a high level. And that to me, that's a sign of intelligence. When you learn from others, that's what we all do. We're all so much better together. Carmen, you are just such a dynamo. I'm so proud to be in business with you. And I just appreciate you so much being on the show today.
Yes. Awesome. Thanks so much for having me.
You're awesome. I appreciate it. Thanks for listening, guys. We go back to Wednesdays. The next one will be in 2 weeks on that Wednesday, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Carmen, thank you, dear.
Absolutely. Thanks. Bye.
All right, guys. Bye-bye.